Welcome to this week's Aiding Your Game. This week we're going to be talking about DMPCs versus NPCs. What are the differences? Why are they important? How can you utilize them in your game? And is one better than the other? Let's jump into it. Now, before we start the video, I just want to remind everybody to go down and hit that subscribe button to help us grow. If you enjoy our content, give us a thumbs up. Leave a comment and let us know what you think about our content, and maybe give us some ideas for future content. And if you want to know when we pop up our next videos, be sure to ding that bell. So, what's the difference between an NPC and a DMPC? Well, at the heart of it, both types of characters are run by the DM. They interact with the party, and in one way or another, they generally are a benefit for your adventuring party. So really, what's the difference? These thoughts that we're going to explore in this video are my opinion. So if you don't agree with my opinion, don't freak out, don't cancel me, but leave your comments down below because I'd love to discuss it with you. In my opinion, a NPC, a non-player character, who's often presented by the GM to the adventuring party, can be very mundane. It's the baker who waves as the party is going by. It's the merchant who is attempting to sell them a hat for the road. It's the barkeep who's cleaning mugs, the waitress who's serving drinks and food. The NPC, the non-player character, is any character who can interact with the party and who the party can interact with and gain some type of role play aspect with. It's someone for the player characters to interact with in your game world. As a GM, NPCs, there are a billion of them. However, that doesn't mean you need to have all of them fleshed out. NPCs should be just a flash in the window for the most part. A DMPC is a character in the adventuring party who moves along with the adventuring party from adventure to adventure, encounter to encounter, but is run by the GM. So a DMPC is a member of the party. They should or generally have an equal say in making decisions. Working through combat, they'll have their own initiative round and act to the best of their ability, their character abilities during that encounter, and ultimately are just another member of the party. Now, I've used both NPCs and DMPCs, and to good effect when I needed them. For me, I've always found that if I need to bring a DMPC into the group, it's because of two things. One, either most of the party is not able to make it, but we need to continue the session, in which case sometimes I'll actually role play my players' characters to the best of my ability, but other times I will introduce a character who will travel with and be a part of the adventuring party to help them achieve the goal, just so we can continue the primary campaign moving forward. Now, I don't like to do this because, in my opinion, that takes away or impacts or modifies the way the adventuring party is normally going to act. They'll often either rely a lot on the DMPC to be a guide, lead the way, help in combat, be utilitarian, keep them from falling and failing. While that isn't always the case, that's what I've noticed just from my personal experience. So it's a type of role that I am not super comfortable taking on as a forever GM, because I would rather create the scenarios, build the world, and let the players experience it through their characters. Now, that's not to say that every character that travels with the PCs is a DMPC. I've had quite a few campaigns where I've had NPCs who have been kind of dragged along with the party for different reasons, and in my opinion, I use them still for that kind of periphery character in my gaming world. That character who is brought along with the party to help them out, to guide them. Maybe it's someone that I've put in there just to tend camp while they go to adventure, whatever the case may be. Oftentimes you can find yourself in a place where the players and their characters get attached to a character and bring them along, whether it's because they don't trust them and want to keep them close, because they can intimidate them and make them do things that the adventurers don't want to do, or because they just generally find them interesting, fun, unique, different, and they want that to continue, that interaction with that NPC to continue. Oftentimes you see this in the form of orphans being picked up by the adventurers, pets being rescued by the adventurers, villains being intimidated by the adventurers. Whatever the case may be, those NPCs that they bring along brings a different dynamic, again, for me, in my opinions. I'm more than happy to have the players attempt to bring NPCs along on their adventures. A couple of things that I kind of really start that out with is if, for instance, they have somebody that, young person that they've rescued and brought along with them, I look at it as a couple of ways. They're not my player character, they're still just an NPC. I utilize them to try to break in more role-playing, not only from direct to one character, but amongst the other characters as well. If I have a character who's going along and helping, sure, they'll help in combat and everything, but I'm not going to min-max or really build them out to be a powerful character. I'm going to start them with super basic stats, commoner at best, and give them a lot of different quirks to make them more RP friendly. So while sure they may pop off a bolt or two here and there, they're not going to be the hero really of any story. I want to use that NPC who's being drugged along to start pulling out role-playing aspects. As an example, in one, as the party brought in a youthful character who actually was excited to go adventuring. He was a younger child and half-elf. The party members all enjoyed the interactions they had with him. The players loved him. And so as he was being brought along, I leveled him up once for every 3 levels that the characters actually leveled up. Tried to keep him in the back of everything while he always tried to rush to the front, and when they encountered a hill giant, he was the first one to take a shot with his crossbow and missed. I used those types of quirks to bring out more role-playing. After the combat with the hill giant, for instance, he got really down on himself and started doubting himself, and he went to the rogue for that kind of comforting, and it allowed the player who was playing the rogue to really open up to them and talk a lot about those commonalities that they had in youth and in not thinking they're as strong or whatever the case may be. And it was a great opportunity for the player through their character to get in a very focused role playing. Additionally, with that same character, as a couple of the PCs had some tension between them, rightfully so in the game, he was able to bridge that gap by getting a few gold coins and going to the market and bringing the adventurers back gifts. They're on a small, tight boat, and as he's presenting the gifts, they all represented something different according to him, what he saw, why he purchased them and gifted them to the different party members. The two that had a little bit of animosity to them, he brought it back and said, I got this for you because it makes me think of the time that you did this for Horace and the rest of us. Or this makes me think of the time that you watched over Naveen and the rest of them. And it really got them thinking that, there are many layers of dynamics and everything, and it's being noted, it's being watched. How can we make sure, which really then allowed them to do some RP after they got back to their ship and the youth got off the boat, and it allowed them to take the time to kind of talk about some of the aspects that, the reckless rogue was endangering the party, and the kind of wise wizardly fighting wizard had to constantly refocus to be able to pull them out. And it got the dynamic there changed exquisitely. They started looking at how they could utilize each other's skills to better take on different adventures, and it was great just for building role-playing. So for me, an NPC who is being drug along does not necessarily have to become a DMPC. They should not be an active member of the party, or if they are an active member, it should be a very minimal role. They should be utilized to further explore character interactions between each other, character interactions to your game world, and character interactions to your world's populace. Look at how you can utilize NPCs, even if they're being drug along, to better the opportunities for your players at the game table. Whether that means more stats, maybe they are not a min-maxer and you want them to utilize some of their feats and everything more, put your NPC in danger more. Give them an opportunity to utilize a feat or an ability, whatever the case may be, and have that be that foil that brings them out of their shell and helps them enjoy the game, enjoy the class and race features that they choose, and enjoy the time with others at your table. So, NPCs versus DMPCs. Again, I have used DMPCs. There's nothing wrong with it, especially if you're in a pinch. You need to use it. Just make sure you're very aware of the differences between a DMPC, who is an equal member of the party as the others, and an NPC, who is a conduit for your players to have a interaction with you, representing your world and the populace in your world. Let me know if you agree with my opinions and what you think about the difference between NPCs and DMPCs. Leave a comment down below and give me an example of an NPC that you or someone at your table really had an exquisite time with, or one that's a horror story. Leave that in a comment below. I'd love to interact with you, talk more about it, see what I can learn from you, and maybe I can give you some advice on some of the interactions that you've had. Until next week, I hope you enjoyed the video. See you then. I hope you enjoyed that video. Here's a link to another video that you may enjoy. Also, make sure you hit that subscribe button to help us grow. If you'd like to support us, make sure you check out the description of the video with some links, and leave a comment to let us know, where will your adventures take you?